I see we're all finding our way here. This will be quite the feat of technology today.
Hi.
We're all arriving from various locations. So let me take a moment to ask any participants, if you're not pinned at the top, if you can try and do so, but all co-hosts should be at the top of the screen. So for Michael, hello. We have BJ, who's one of our pianists, Billy Joe. We have Juan Guillermo Vasquez, one of our pianists. We have Dusan who's one of our singers. And we have Faith Snyderman, who's one of our singers. And then on the top left, we've got our performance space, which is in Margaret Morrison, sorry. Actually, yes, no, never mind. I was going to make a joke. And we'll have our live performers coming in from there. So the flip book, I just put it into the chat if you all want to follow along. We'll have between 20 and 25 minutes for each performing duo. And then we'll have a little time at the end for Q&A, which is going to be chaired by Kate Smith, and she's also in the performance space. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Michael Heaston to our masterclass this afternoon. I am so delighted to have Mr. Heaston with us, and really excited that we can still do this even during a pandemic. It's been quite the year, and I applaud all of you for keeping up your spirits and your performance chops as we've gone through it. Mr. Heaston is a collaborative pianist, a vocal coach, and as all of you probably know, a well-respected artistic administrator. Recently tapped again at the Metropolitan Opera as artistic administrator, and he's overseeing all casting and artistic planning there. He has already served there once as the executive director of the Lindemann Young Artist Development Program. And he is a visionary, he's a leader, and he's somebody that I and my closest colleagues have all come to rely on for good sound advice delivered with kindness and energy. And that is a very special quality indeed. So welcome here, Michael.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here with all of you, and I'm just, you know, thrilled that you'll spend a couple hours of your afternoon with me. So I look forward to the performances because that's truly what they are. I know this is a master class, but you're giving performances, which is why we all do this. And I'm looking forward to the Q&A at the end. And lest anybody feel shy, I'm a pretty open book. So, you know, when we get to that point, feel free that you can ask things, even the things that you feel like you might be too afraid to ask. You know, I'm always honest and I hope to be a good resource to all of you today.
Excellent. So we're going to start with Dusan and Juan, who have a video queued up and ready to go of their performance, and then they're ready also to work with you in real time after you've seen that. So which one of you has the video? Is it Dusan?
Thank you. Yes, I'm going to post right away. Okay, sharing device is here, and just one moment. Okay. Can you see this? Perfect. Since we are in two different cities now, we recorded this, and I hope in these conditions that this can satisfy all of your criteria.
Una furtiva lagrima negli occhi suoi spuntò, quelli festosi giovani invidiar sembrò. Cercando io vo, che più cercando io vo, mamma, sì mamma, lo vedo, lo vedo. Un solo istante i palpiti del suo bel cuor sentì, i miei sospir confondere per poco a suoi sospiri. I palpiti sentir, confondere i miei co suoi sospir. Cielo, si può morire, di più non chiedo, non chiedo. Cielo, si può morire, di più non chiedo, non chiedo. Si può morir, ah, si morir.
Bravi, bravi. Very, very good. Let's dive in, you guys. Both of you really, really well done on an aria that is, one of the hallmarks of the repertory, and very difficult because of where it can lie with relation to the upper passaggio and how we navigate that and how we use text in a piece that is primarily in the minor, but this isn't necessarily the saddest moment in the character's life, yeah? So where I'd like to start first, Juan Guillermo, where are you? There you are, top. All right, let's start at the very beginning and talk about how we need to set the scene a bit more. I really hope that as much as you can sing this famous bassoon solo as you play it, it must be filled with so much breath and specificity as to how the air needs to move between the notes even more so. Think also about the double bass pizzicati at the downbeat. There's resonance and length in that. Boom, boom. There's room there. And above the inevitability of the accompaniment figuration, sing the bassoon line as you do it. Feel that sort of breath energy. Can you try just the first two phrases of it?
Sure.
Good. Excellent. You did my favorite thing. You overcorrected now. So now I want you to meet yourself in the middle because you started making every downbeat too special and adding too much time.
Okay.
So just be aware of the sound and understand that as you sang that melody better this time as you played it, that if we have too many special moments, then none of them are special anymore. Mm-hmm. So figure out in this beautiful introduction the one or two key places that you need to take time, but also the places where it needs to have forward motion. Then it will feel balanced from a rubato perspective. Okay, we try one more time. Okay, that is how that goes.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Make sense?
Yeah, got it perfectly.
This has to be your aria at the beginning, and then you hand it off to him. But so much of how you set the mood determines on how that first entrance on F natural is going to go for him. And if he feels that you've even given a little bit of space on your first entrance, he's going to do the same thing. Now, bless all of you amazing students for having to do all these virtual things in separate rooms all year, because the hardest thing to work on is rubato, because you're not together. But that is so much of what we have to talk about in bel canto. Okay, so what I want you to feel, Dusan, when you get into your opening phrase, breathe through the vowel you intend to sing on, and don't do it too late. Because I feel a little bit at the start of each phrase that you're aware of when you're supposed to come in, and you're aware of what vowel you're supposed to come in on, but you haven't fully prepared it. So this time, can you start the first phrase for me? Yes. And can you think that in this meter of bum, 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 that your inhale of breath is within the tempo of the piece. So it's something like, I'm going to over exaggerate this, but it's something like una, and that there's not a split second that you hold the breath before you start to initiate sound. Breathe in tempo and go. And if you need a little bit of time just to find vibration on the first note, it's okay. We can stretch a little bit in this style, okay? Can we try that?
Yes.
Maybe
Juan,
just the bar before.
Juan, can you give me F? Thank you. Una furtiva
Good.
lagrima.
That's getting better. Now I want you to think on that first sound. Again, this is one of those arias where the very first sound we hear, it's so iconic.
Yes.
I think you need a little bit more height there. Can you once for me sing an O vowel there instead? Can you sing una furtiva lagrima? Let me hear what that sounds like. Okay.
Oh.
Now, with that much room, make it more of an U, but that much height.
All right.
Okay, try again.
Una furtiva.
Take a full breath and don't hold before you start. Think of the tempo you'd sing it in.
Una furtiva lagrima.
Okay. Very, very good. Feel better?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to put a big sloppy portamento between those two notes in a way that you would never do in performance, but I want you to feel what it means to send air between those two pitches.
Mm-hmm. Between F and B flat?
F and B flat.
Okay. Una furtiva.
Excellent. You did exactly what I was expecting. Okay. Because you're collapsing a little bit on the low note. Well, you think on the portamento that the vowel stays exactly intact. So instead of ooh, and that it changes, keep the integrity of the vowel all the way down and land on the second pitch with that vowel. Then you may bring in the next syllable, but not until you've landed. So just try once for me doing the oo vowel from F and slide with oo to B flat. Don't go to na yet. Just ooh.
Ooh.
Good. One more time.
Ooh.
And now this time, will you think that you have to go up to go down? So think ooh. You have to turn it over to go down and not just drop it down.
Okay. Ooh.
Okay. Now sing it as written, but think that.
Una furtiva.
That's better. That's better. Okay. When you traverse some of these registers and you go lower, sometimes you just kind of let it drop down there. Mm-hmm. I want you to think that when you have something a little bit higher and then it goes low, that the position doesn't drop. Mm-hmm. The position stays intact and the breath can do what you need it to do, but your position always stays up. When our position goes up and down all night, that's when stamina becomes an issue. So stay, in posizione, okay? Has to stay up there, okay? Now, the next thing I will talk about is, I want you to be very careful when you get up around F natural, and then depending on what he's doing between G flat and G natural, when you have an A vowel. Sometimes you close your A vowel in a way that you spread, and it makes you spread through the upper passaggio at the place where you actually need to narrow. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I want you to think that you find a bit more of this. So can you start again and just sing the first few phrases, and I will, if you see my hand go up, we'll stop and do a little bit of work.
Okay, of course.
Okay.
Lagrima negli occhi suoi spuntò, quelle festose.
Right there. Quelle fe. The fe, sorry, all you can hear, I'm a pianist. I have my voce di coche fully equipped today, and no one will ever pay me a dime to sing anything for you. But quelle fe, if we have quelle fe, you can't go anywhere up after that because you're too wide. Make sense? So I want you to think quelle fe, and then up.
Oh, sorry.
Can you try that?
Quelle festose giovani. Oh.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so I want you to think about, go through that whole aria and just kind of notice when you have A vowels around F natural, I think you want to remind yourself, don't go too much this way, because you want to stay a bit more narrow so you have flexibility in and out. We never want to hear you shifting gears in anything, but especially in an aria like this, where you're very exposed. Okay? I want you to also think, and this is a note for both of you, and I mentioned this a bit at the beginning to Juan, is there's this sense of at the start of every important phrase that you then have to sing rhythmically. There is a bit of stretch there to get the sound in, and then we go on. So never feel like once this tempo gets going that it's relentless. There's always room to breathe in this, and there's always room for rubato to accommodate the breath that is required to navigate the phrase. Okay? So even when you have una furtiva lagrima negli occhi, that nel, you get a little bit of time there. Don't just feel that it's negli occhi. Make sense? Okay, start it one more time.
From the beginning?
Yes.
Okay.
Una furtiva lagrima negli occhi suoi spuntò, quelle festose giovani invidiar sembrò.
Very good, very, very good. Now, the next thing I want you to think about is there are places where you have two consonants back to back that are voiced consonants, or it's two consonants and maybe the first one's voiced and the second one is not, where I'm not clear if you have made a decision, and maybe you haven't, about which note you sing which consonant on. And sometimes that matters. Let me tell you why. You know, Vidiar sembro. Where is the M and where is the bro? Sembro. Because sometimes if we're not quite clear, we just kind of slide around. The position can collapse as a result.
Well,
Mike, we're at about 3 minutes.
Okay.
so I think that Sam is on that B flat and bro is on that F, but I might sing differently.
Good answer. Good answer. Just notice that. The thing that I would say to both of you in our final couple of minutes, same note before you get to the famous place, ma, ma. Do not spread before that. If it's as you crescendo through vo, if you kind of crescendo with your air, but then also spread at the same time, you know, you are going to run out of room. So I just want you to be aware, anytime you go above, like to A flat and things, don't spread before that because you need that up there. Okay? The way that you approach the cadenza and the way that you give yourself time there, I want both of you to think that that sort of approach to time works throughout the piece, but it's not quite as free. But especially on the last page or so, there's more time. Cielo si può morir. It's not just ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. Makes sense? So really cue into each other when you actually can be in a room and do it together and know how much breath energy there is from both of you on it. Okay? Questions from me about any of that?
When is the
sing,
class?
this aria, sing, and it's bel canto, right? Take that literally. Beautiful singing, and beautiful singing takes breath, and that means it takes time. So give yourself permission to take the time to create the most beautiful tones both of you can with your instruments. Okay? Within reason. But make someone tell you it's too far.
Thank you, Mr. Heaston.
Bobby, well done.
Thank you so much, Mr. Heaston.
Okay, who is next? We have Daniel. There? Okay, great.
Okay.
All right. À lève toi soleil. I'm ready whenever you are.
Sorry, I'm trying to avoid feedback.
Ah, got it.
They're just getting something set up. I think the mic is not working. Sorry, Michael. We're still figuring out the mic here.
It's all good.
Anything now? Do you hear us?
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay, you can hear us.
Yes, please feel free to start whenever you're ready.
Hi, I'm Megan Shaw, a student of Dr. John's program.
I'm Daniel Miller, and I study under Professor Daniel Teed, and we will be performing À lève toi soleil by Charles Gounod. L'amour, oui, son argent a troublé tout mon être. Mais quelle soudaine clarté resplendit dans cette fenêtre. C'est là que dans la nuit on s'aboutit. Lève-toi, soleil, fais pâlir les étoiles.
Very good, both of you. Very, very good. Let's start at the very beginning. The first note I will give is that it's very, very helpful if we add for the singer the couple of measures of F major arpeggios that comes out of the chorus that precedes this aria, because it's less than us just giving them the F major chord and then suddenly they're like l'amour. Okay, so take a look at the score and just add the and then, especially in an audition setting or a competition setting, what ultimately happens is it provides a little more cushion for you to feel like you're coming out of the orchestral rhythm to start singing then, instead of just having to suddenly find your way. Okay, so I would add that in when you have a moment. Can you just start the recit for me one more time? And I want you to think less about showing me that you have the exact rhythm all the time and really finding the flavor of the French language needing to go to the end of the thought. French Romanticism is hard because it can make us put the emphasis on the wrong syllable all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I want you to not show me how studious your rhythm is and show me more what you know about French language. Okay?
Yes.
Let's see what that means. Okay, so right there, to start with right there, I think you're holding that almost too long, or the way that you're holding it, I feel like you're sitting on the note and then suddenly we finish the phrase. Can you think that on any note that is a sustained note, of which you have many in this aria, that sustained notes aren't things where we just gird our loins and sing to the end of them, but sustained notes are an invitation and an opportunity to design with your breath and do something beautiful all the way to the moment you decide to finish the note. Make sense? So think that that note needs to still finish and go beyond it.
Okay.
Just a measure or two before that point. Maybe at we.
Okay. Can I G? We son troubli tout mon être. Mais quelle soudaine clarté resplendit à cette fenêtre.
Great, great. Now, let's talk about the rhythm there. Okay? Again, I'm very aware of what you're saying. I think you're too literal. Can you just speak the text there for me?
Mais quelle soudaine clarté resplendit à cette fenêtre.
Can you speak it without any relation to the rhythm on the page, but just how you would say this if it were a line of text in a French play?
Mais quelle soudaine clarté resplendit à cette fenêtre.
You're still lengthening the notes that have longer rhythm on the page. Ignore the rhythm, pretend you know nothing about rhythm whatsoever.
No. Mais quelle soudaine clarté resplendit à cette fenêtre.
Yep, not long on resplendit. Oui, mais quelle soudaine clarté resplendit à cette fenêtre. It always goes to the end. Okay, try it again.
Mais quelle soudaine clarté resplendit à cette fenêtre.
Okay, if there's going to be a place where you're going to have an accent, it would be there. But even then, we're not going to overdo it. But do you see how easy that is? Speak
Yes.
it one more time and feel what it means to not know what the rhythm on the page is that Gounod wrote.
Mais quelle soudaine clarté resplendit à cette fenêtre.
Can you sing it closer to that?
Yes.
Actually, sing it that way once and just ignore the rhythm and let's see if we think that's a horrible idea.
Okay. Mais quelle soudaine clarté resplendit à cette fenêtre.
See? Okay, good. Now, good. I like where that's headed. So now you can add like 10% more of real rhythm to it. And now I want you to think of what's happening dramatically. anytime we see the word but in any language, but, me, ma, that should be a big signal to you as an interpreter, as a moment of discovery. So tell me how you make what does it mean when you see the light from the window? And what does that mean to the speed of the text as you realize even more what it is?
I see.
Okay? Same place.
Michele Sudana, clarity, respondit, set for Se no, que donna nire on sabuti.
Great. So now my next question to you is, what is the rhythm on c'est la? What's the pickup note length?
An eighth note.
Is it an eighth note? Is it a 16th note? Is it a on c'est?
It's an eighth note.
Great. You're almost singing a 16th on it. And I want you to feel that there's almost enough time to vibrate on the lower note so that you aren't just flying up to the top note, not connected to your body. Can you start right on c'est la with the little bit of piano right before it? And think there's enough time to vibrate on c'est.
Okay.
Great. Now stop here for a second. Much better, much better. Play with that idea on this. I know I've spent a lot of time on recits. Recits are the hardest things we ever have to do. It doesn't matter if it's secco or accompagnato. They are so difficult because there's this delicate dance that we have to achieve between idiomatic use of the language and the rhythm on the page. And you have to find that happy medium because musical notation can only take us so far. And at the moment that our interpretation of rhythmic notation takes us out of the flow of language, then we're no longer musical. So really play with that idea. Now, both of you together, when we get here into the aria proper, feel this, there's this sensibility in each measure of this piece. Bum, 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 da, dum, bum, 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 bum. There's this handoff of energy that happens so that when you have these longer note values as the singer on the downbeat, the piano or the orchestra helps by playing subdivision underneath that. Can you feel that the speed of your air on your long notes is moving at the speed of the eighth notes in the accompaniment below you so that you're never sitting on a long note, but your breath is always moving somewhere? Okay? Maybe just those 3 chords before he starts the aria. Great, let's stop there. Now, the thing to note here, very, very good. When you get to the lève-toi bit, it's not written there, but there is a sense of a poco più mosso that sort of happens over those phrases, which is anticipating the speed your air needs to be at for the B flat. Okay, so when you get there, can we feel that lève-toi starts to inch forward? Then the next one, lève-toi, so that there's this sense of a bit more forward motion leading up to the B flat. Okay, And then the last thing I will add, because I want you to do the whole thing through the B flat, watch again the width of your vowel on the lève-toi. We want to make sure that the ahs don't spread as you go higher. Lève-toi, then pa, a, pa, re. This time, can you maybe try a little bit of on pa, re, on the B flat? Can you put a little bit like in the word cat?
On the pare, yes.
On the top B flat, but you need to have a perfect ah vowel below it that is not spread on the D natural. And then, so I want you to think para.
Okay.
I'm going to let you channel a little of your inner Corelli, in other words. Okay? Let's try it.
7%. 7%.
Yep. Great. I like where that's headed. Can you try one more thing for me and just humor me with this? How'd you feel about that B flat?
I liked it.
Okay, good. I did too. And I'm a tough critic, so that was great. Okay, now what I want you to try is instead of singing pa-da, I want you to do the again, but this time instead of flipping the R, can you put a ya in it? Pa-ye, pa-ye.
Yes.
Okay, I know I'm crazy, just come with me into my head on this. Okay. Great. Your fee goes up when you do stuff like that.
I get excited.
Okay, so why did that work? Why did I ask you to do that? Let me tell you what I was hearing, even though it's all through digital. When you needed to not spread before the top, so you had room. When you get above your upper passaggio, and especially for tenor, high notes, that's where we start to need a bit of this in the sound, that real squillo that makes us all want to die because we love it so much. But the reason I did the ya was because I could sense in the sound that you were holding your jaw. And when you do the ya, you have to release the jaw in the way that normally functions, and your jaw doesn't hold the sound up, and you just ride the air all the way through the high note. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so play with that a little bit sometimes into high notes. Put a little ya before it to see if it can just release the jaw, and then you just ride the column of air all the way up. Okay, now when we get to the beautiful middle section here, which was very, very good, the sensibility is great from both of you. Can you really, though, change the color even more so after this big outburst? What were we talking about? Elle rêve, she dreams, yeah? So take me into a different sound world completely. Find softer colors. Even the sense of the way the phrase moves is different, okay? How much change can you show me without coming off the voice? You can give me the whole interlude little thing. Great. Stop right there. Very, very good. For me, it's a little too metronomic still. I want you to feel that you can have turns of phrases. Now, when I say metronomic, at the piano, you still have to achieve orchestral rhythm and do what an orchestra can do. But sometimes the most interesting music we can make is when the voice and the orchestra don't necessarily line up like this on the page. So can we even feel like there might even be moments where it's not that we're out of sync, but it's because the way that you have to say the word, we're in the same ballpark, but not boom, 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 boom. Okay? Right there. Those last two amours, how are they related? How are they different from one another? Or how are they alike? What is your opinion?
3 minutes, Mike.
Okay.
I feel like the first one feels like the climax, but the second one is the real climax. I feel like that was something that I was trying to play around with, for the first one to be not lesser, of course, but for the second one to be more pronounced as the climax of that section. That makes sense.
Great, excellent. I think you can be more specific about that. Because you're coming to the end of a musical dramatic gesture here, and then something new starts to happen right after this, yes?
Mm-hmm.
So really show me how you want to finish that thought even more.
Okay. Do you want to perform it again?
Yes. Great. Quick note that I will say here, really good. Watch some of your final schwa sounds. Sometimes they become a little pronounced. You kind of want to hit them at the end. Keep them connected to what you just did and stay on the line of breath. Usually that happens when we're already thinking about the next phrase, and so we just kind of get to the end and then we take a breath. Write out your legato even more, okay? The one thing I'll say in our last minute together, let me ask a question first. What mood do both of you want to create on the reprise?
I was going for something a little more mystical, mysterious, I guess.
Yes. And again, part of this is digital. I just wanted to ask. I started to get that, but again, you can't always tell on these things. So that is the right instinct. Very good. At the very end, I want you both to think about tempo. I think you can afford yourselves a bit more time at the very end, those last several measures, to set things up. But I don't give that note in a way that makes you want to take so much time that it's going to make the B flat hard. But right now I'm kind of getting viens, pare, viens, pare. It all feels too much in tempo and not enough magic anymore.
Okay.
So think viens, pare, and all the ah vowels on pa vibrate. They're long enough to do it. Okay?
Yes.
Can we give that measure before? Very good. Makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. There's an inevitability to the rhythm at the end, but there's room to breathe. And if you want even a bit more time before the last pare, take it. Be a tenor. Like, do what tenors do. Take time. Okay? So do that one more time and then we'll move on. But the same thing one more time. And if you want to put the paille in, go for it. Happy. Very happy. But the thing I would put with it, again, just remind yourself, right before, okay, take the amount of time you need to breathe. And again, I say, don't breathe and hold, breathe and go. The second we have, and then you sing, we're going to hear tension in the sound. Okay? One more time. Bravi. Very, very good. Okay? Well done, both of you. Very, very good work today.
Hi, I'm BJ Miller. I'm an AMS student with Jocelyn and Faith. Do you want to take over?
Where
Hi,
do
can
I
you hear
see
me?
you both? 1 second.
Sure.
Oh, here I am. There I go. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh, awesome. Great. My name is Faith S. Snyderman. I'm a soprano from Washington, D.C., coming to you live from Silver Spring, Maryland. I had the pleasure of working with BJ for this, and today it will be a collaboration of sorts, presenting Die Teure Halle from Tannhäuser by Wagner.
All right, then.
All right, technology, please work. There we go.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very, very good. All right. Is your pianist on the screen somewhere here, just so I can wave at them? Where are you?
Should be.
There's BJ. Very, very good. Now, I couldn't tell if my internet popped in or out. Was there the whole intro or some version of the intro on the recording and I just didn't hear it, or did we just start a bit before?
There was a portion of the intro, what's normally done for auditions, not the whole 2-minute long thing.
Okay, got it. Okay, great. You go by BJ, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Would you mind playing that for me?
Sure.
Great. The hardest thing about this lovely reduction where we pretend that our 10 little fingers are a Wagnerian orchestra is all of the subdivision underneath it. Really feel the big beat in this and think any figuration that it's not it's always going higher and higher and higher. Think like Superman film score on this. It's not too much, I promise. Great, excellent. That's much better. Now at the end, I'm not going to let you be as musical as you would like to be.
Okay.
Quit being so musical. The final thing, don't take as much rubato because it needs to be a handoff. So that if we have such a beautiful ending and suddenly she's like, "Hello, Hall," it doesn't feel like it's connected to the music that you just did. Okay, so give yourself no ritardando at all there, and I think it hands off in a more exciting way. Okay, now for both of you, there are a lot of places in this aria, and this is hard, where there's not a lot of motion in the orchestra underneath the singer, and sometimes there's nothing at all. And the question is, what do you do with the tempo? You have to keep the tempo going, or it starts to feel, after this big intro, that we're losing a sense of who this character is. Even in the moments that are a bit more inny, there's still a sense of forward motion on it. Okay, so can we start with the vocal entrance?
Absolutely. With or without the track?
Without the track's fine.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Now what I want you to think is, think of the energy that BJ just played it with, and your initial consonants have to have that much energy and specificity to them. Okay. And one thing that will also mean, and this could just be what I'm hearing on the lovely world of Zoom audio, some of your initial consonants want to start that much below the pitch, and then you crank up into the pitch when the vowel actually happens. If your breath energy is really spot on, you're going to start right on it. So there's no sense that the D of dich is dich, and then you find the position on the vowel. Dich, toi, ra. There's no time to find position in this. You must be prepared immediately on it. Okay?
Yes.
Try again.
If I get back and forth from the microphone, my microphone's right here. It's because I don't want to blow it out. So
yeah, that's fine.
That's maybe where some of the clarity is lost, but I'm more than happy to overdo it.
Okay, let's try. Good. Excellent. That was all much better, except for fro. Was definitely fro. Okay. Roll it up there. Yes. Yes. That's what you need in all opera, but like Wagner, that's what you need to get over the orchestra. Okay? Start right on fro again. Very good, very, very good. How much can you play with Geliebte to show me what Geliebte really means?
Sure. Sure.
Much better, much better. Good, good, good. Now, we get into our next section, where again, in dir erwachen seine Lieder. Again, this is a place where remember the tempo you had. Okay?
Okay.
Right there. Good. Can you, from this time, just sing that only on the vowels? Good, 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 good. That's starting to clear it up. The difference between I and more of an E for you isn't always distinct enough, and it kind of makes me not know what the word is. And sometimes your ah vowel, especially if the ah is the first vowel of a diphthong, sometimes your ah doesn't have enough height and brightness, and it sounds like whatever the second vowel of the diphthong is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So think about pure vowels. Almost overdo it, like Julie Andrews style this for me, like overdo.
Okay. With consonants or just vowels?
Just on vowels. Watch your ah, watch the ah vowel on Zina. I, sing real ah there. Yes, my dear. Okay, now put the consonants in. Good. Now I'm going to ask you, I know I'm being a total pain in the you-know-what.
Go ahead.
Now, can you voice the Z, the Z on Zina, on that pitch and not below, followed by a pure ah vowel?
Sure.
Oh boy. That's coming along, okay? So now that you've thought about it, you figured out that I can do that. So now think of the musical phrase and tempo you want to perform it at and add that to it.
Okay.
Very good. Very good. Okay? Feel that kind of work?
Yeah.
There's a specificity in German diction and English diction with consonants to vowel ratio. And there are places where I think you can afford to have longer consonants. When I say longer consonants, it means they probably have to start earlier when you have a longer note value.
Okay.
Okay, especially at the ends of phrases. Some of your consonants, like you're doing the good job of staying on vowel, 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 but you almost stay on vowel too late. That you don't have enough time to finesse the consonants at the end, and then they actually kind of come off the breath and they punctuate. Okay, so with that note in mind, go skip to the end so I can show you this note. The place where it shows the most is at sei mir gegrüßt. If it's sei mir gegrüßt. Gegrüßt.
Okay. Okay. Which one? Because there are a couple.
Yeah, you say it a lot. Start from the first one. What is it? E minor? No, I can't remember. I don't have the music in front of me, guys. Yes. That's too short still. Sei mir gegrüßt. Feel how long that is?
Yes.
Do you have in your arsenal, just in your head, is there a Schubert song or a Schumann song that you sing that has a slow tempo that you could sing the first phrase of for us, just a cappella?
A slow tempo? The first
Yeah.
one that comes off the top of my head is Gretchen am Spinnrade, if that works for what you're looking for.
Yes. Will you just sing Meine Ruhe ist hin and figure out how you have to fit some of these consonants into that tempo?
Meine Ruhe ist hin, mein Herz ist schwer.
Do you see how naturally you roll the R in the tempo and you get into Herz ist schwer and you have all the time in the world? It makes sense in the middle of a phrase. When we get to the ends of the phrases, we have to think, what is the length of that consonant meant to be? In other words, tempo and rhythm in German diction are really important. The slower the tempo, the longer the rhythm, the longer the consonants can and should be, because that's how we speak these languages. For instance, if I speak to one of my nieces and nephews who's very little, and I'm explaining to them how to put the blocks together so that they make this house. Do you hear how my consonants get longer?
Yes.
That's musical time. Okay? So can you think, sei mir gegrüßt, 2, 3, st. Grüßt, 2, 3, gr, 2, 3, st.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Every time. Every time. And what you will notice now, I want you to sing them in order.
Okay.
You will notice that when you release it, suddenly your consonants have become part of the rhythm. You'll get to the end of your breath and you will naturally just take the breath you need. And suddenly your breath and tempo are going along together like they ideally should. And then you don't have to think.
Okay.
Can we try it?
Yeah.
Be natural, what be natural?
Oh, the first one or the second one?
Oh, let's do the whole thing. It's all about the ride. Now, before we get to the top note, do you feel on these later ones where it's shorter that it's almost harder to know what to do? And what I actually hear you do is sei mir gegrüßt, and you collapse at the end of the, can you keep it, pretend that if there were to be a shadow vowel after that, it would be an I.
Okay.
Sei mir gegrüßt, so that you're thinking up at the end of all of them. Because guess where you're going in a few bars? Up. So like, let's just go there first.
Okay.
We live in the penthouse, not the first floor. Okay. That's coming along. Very, very good. Very, very good. I'm gonna be a nag about one thing. By the way, the B's very, very good.
Thank you.
I don't know if you heard me do earlier. You might be able to put a little bit of a into your B natural. Sure. Put a bit of a in it and see what you think.
Sure.
So we're going to try that. But what I also want you to think about is, again, once this gets going, don't slow down. Okay. So even if your internal tempo, I see Jocelyn has appeared. Do I have like 2 minutes?
About 5. You got about 5, so you got some time.
Great.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's forever. I can keep torturing you.
Not at all. You're fine. Not at all.
sei mir gegrüßt, du teurer. All of this at the end, if you feel that you start to slow down at all, it's going to slow down your breath energy. We have to think, I have to live with the tempo all the way through the end of this aria because it makes it easier. The moment that you start any sort of slowdown, you're going to start to want to take weight up with you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it always has to be forward. So can you try this part one more time? Then I'm going to go back and talk about something earlier in the aria. But try that forward momentum. And then at the end, du teuer, ha, and then sei mir gegrüßt. And then if there was ever an ST, despite being in COVID times, to spit at us, it's that one. Okay?
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Like every time like that. Okay,
Yes, sir.
really, really good. Really, really good. Okay, all I'm going to say before I have to let you go, when you get into aus mir entfloh der Frieden, that bit.
Yes.
Think how specific those vowels have to be, but how close they actually are to one another, so that we live in one sound world. Can we start right there?
Yes.
Great. Now, do it one more time. I know you're overdoing initial consonants for me. Don't do that now.
Okay.
Make them less obvious. Aus mir entfloh der Frieden. I don't want to know where the bar lines are at all.
Okay.
Yes. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. It's an aria that should cover some of the biggest variances you can dramatically and musically. And it's about pronunciation of the text within the tempo and within the rhythm, but also understanding when you have all these diphthongs and things that you're aware of pure vowels, not over telegraphing them to us. But your tongue, remember, correct vowels about a state of correct tongue position, right?
Yes.
Like you need to know where a, e, o, u is in your tongue and everything in between as you're constructing vowels. That all can happen internally here with the strongest muscle in your body, So be specific in this about it, because when we aren't, that's when it starts to feel a little sloppy. But you're on such a good path with this. Very well done.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
well
you for
done.
your time. Appreciate it.
Good, both of you. Very, very good.
Hello, my name is Michael Clark. I am a first-year graduate collaborative piano student studying under Jocelyn Dewitt.
My name is Kaya Rogeroux. I am a third-year soprano studying in the studio of Professor Maria Spacagna, and today we will be performing I Felt a Funeral in My Brain by Aaron Copland. I felt a funeral in my brain, and the mourners to and fro kept treading till it said, and when they all were seated, a service like a drum kept beating till I thought my mind was going numb. And then I heard them lift a box and creep across my soul, closing both of that again. And tears began to fall, as though the heavens were above, to bring botany. And I and silence, some strange grace, solitary.
Great, both of you. Very, very good. Tell me, both of you, what have you decided between the two of you about this poem and the setting of it and what you're trying to convey? What's it about?
For me, and Mike and I have talked about this, it's an absolute like mental breakdown. I imagine she's like vomited a bunch, it's like migraine state. Like it's just that point where she's literally picturing a funeral in her head. She's going crazy. She's hearing this beating drum. It's all she can hear. Like, been there. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. And it's also kind of like, to me, I kind of picture the funeral as her own. It's very much like, you know, the funeral is her own descent into madness, and the poem's kind of like chronicling the beginning of that, and kind of like going through to where she just kind of is totally in existential despair, and then kind of like questioning what is death at all. And it's all this kind of like rambling around it.
Excellent, excellent. Have you given a thought as to what kind of event would cause this reaction?
I feel like it's a build-up. Having been there myself, I don't know if it was a specific event, but like having been there myself, it's usually a build-up.
Yep. Okay, good. It's tricky because, you know, in the context of a song cycle with these wonderful poems, you have to bring us into a new world with each one of them immediately, right? And so, and this is so specific, and the text setting and the music is so onomatopoetic, you know, that us being able to jump right into your world is important. I will say to both of you, I thought that the approach to rhythm and the clarity of text was excellent. Excellent. This was like diction A++. Okay?
Thank you, Jocelyn.
I know, it's like, Jocelyn, I love you. Thank you for beating them into submission. So start this one more time for me. And I want to get a sense of, because you mentioned a build, and this was my question when you first did it. I wondered, were you giving away too much too soon? And you could say, no, that's exactly how I wanted to do it. But when you mentioned a build, I had thought immediately when you started, I was like, where are they going to go?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to me it's there's a dichotomy in the beginning where the chords on the right hand are very kind of like melodic and kind of simple, and on the left hand it's kind of where it's starting. I think it is more of like a insidious type thing where it kind of creeps in.
Yes. Yeah. So think about that. And I can't see your hands, but what I could sense from watching your elbow is, will you think about the teeniest slower attack on the right hand chords? Let's see. Whoa.
We're moving. I felt a funeral in my brain.
Great. Excellent. I'll stop there. Very good. Very, very good. If the attack is too quick in the right hand, it's almost too percussive that I don't get the sense of build. And also, if you're talking about it's part of a breakdown, you know, yeah, an annoying thing can be if someone's doing this to you, but if it's just this sort of achy thing, you know, I think it gives you more room to play with different attacks. So, you know, Mike, I would say, think about how you can vary the speed of attack in the way that you approach how you play this song, and see if that can give you more emotional insight to what the two of you are wanting to do. So play with that. Can you two start one more time? And let's stop at like a little after like my mind was going numb. Let's do just that much of it, okay?
I felt a funeral in my brain, and the mourners to and fro kept treading its and when they all were seated, a service like a drum kept beating till I thought my mind was going numb.
Good. Excellent. I love that you were both so much more specific, that I understood the difference between the first part than when we get into the drum. Everything was much more vivid. That was really, really good. If you would like, you can play with a bit more of the alliteration in this, and think about especially what you can do with that in terms of accent of consonant and the way that you maybe lengthen the consonant to show me more of that. Go on from where we left off with that note in mind.
Did I say that right? Sorry. Okay, thank you. And then I heard them lift a box and creak across my soul. Those same boots of lead again, and space began to
Stop there. We'll stop right there. Very, very good. What I will say about this section, can I hear more of the K's on creek?
Yeah.
Both of them. But here's the trick with G and K, is that we want to grab them in the throat and not connect them to the breath lower. So can you make sure that you check back in down where your breath is on those, because otherwise it won't work. And then, what was I going to say to you? Yeah, I want this image and creak across my soul. You know, that's like creature feature. Like that's, I mean, we need to check your medicines to like help you out with this. It's that sort of thing where it's like, you know, really bring that to life for me. And then with those same boots of lead again, then space began to toll. Again, all of this, find the build through the way that you say the word. And again, resist the temptation to give me too much too soon. Mike at the piano, when she's in the middle voice and into the lower voice, watch, again, this is all my reaction through Zoom audio. Watch how thickly you voice the chords when they are in the same register as where she is, because you might want to alter the way that you voice. Okay, can we start lift a box? Yeah.
And then I heard them lift a box and creak across my skull. Those same boots of lead again. Then space began to fall as though the heavens were above.
Great, stop there. Very, very good. Now, I want you to think about this metaphor list here that we go through, okay? And I want you to think of how they connect, because I find it interesting what she does with, as all the heavens were a bell, and being but an ear.
Yeah.
And I in silence, some strange race. Make sense?
Yeah.
You've talked about what you have thought about things and what you've heard. This is the moment where you say, and I am something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think you've really got to recognize that. And that becomes a point of rhythm too, in how you express that there and how you acknowledge that there's a comma after I before and silence, right? So that as if all the heavens were a bell and being but an ear and I and silence. I think there's enough room for a little lift so you can have an unobtrusive glottal before and silence.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can we try that? But bring me more into your world when you say and I. Okay, as all the heavens were a bell.
As all the heavens were a bell, and being but an ear, and I and silence, some strange race.
Very good. Very good. Try one more time for me and I in silence. You're so close to what I'm hearing you nearly do.
Okay.
Now that you put that little lift in before and silence, make it less obvious. And I, and it's like, it's a break, no breath.
Yeah.
No catch breath there.
Okay.
Can we try it right there?
And some, let me try that again. I can do that better. And silence, some strange.
Good, good, good. Now, Remember where, this is again, the land of alliteration. Look at all these S's you have. And I and silence some strange rate. Remember where that position is, always go back there.
Okay.
If I'm aware of you needing to find a spot each time, I come out of the musicality too much.
Okay.
Okay? Same place.
And I and silence some strange race
Great. So now I want you to try one more thing for me, because I always think one of the things that singers all need to try is you need to sing every phrase 6 different ways, even in ways that make absolutely no sense whatsoever, because you start to learn more about the potential of your timbre and your musicality, etc., and so on. Okay, so now will you sing an I in silence, some sort? Will you sing all of that with no attention to commas, anything? I don't want to hear any lifts, but can you communicate the places that you would have lifted by the way you say the text?
I can try.
And I and silence. It means the places where you have to find the right way to pulse the energy where you need it, but never stop making sound.
Okay.
Let's see what that does.
And I and silence some strange race.
Can you do that much again? Can you do all of that in one breath, even if it means you take it a click faster?
Yeah. Okay. And I and silence some strange race.
Good. And now, can you show me what you really want to do after silence? And I in silence some strange race. One more time. I'm being a pain, but you're going to get it.
Yeah. And I and silence some strange race.
Very good. Very good. Play with those things where you try to decide, do I want to sing through a comma? Do I want to show a lift there? How do I, you have, there's no right or wrong for all of them, as long as you are clear about what your intent is with the text. Make sense? Go on to the very end.
From where? Where we go?
Some changes.
Some strange race wrecked, solitary.
Great. Now, do that one more time, just wrecked solitary here. Think even more. What do you want to do, Mike, with those last blah, blah.
Yeah, to me, it's kind of like the beating of like the boots in her head, but it's kind of like faded to her background, kind of showing that it's kind of moved like into like her ready to live. It's like always gonna be there, like younger. It's kind of like ornery. I don't know,
Great. What does that mean in terms of tempo for you?
me, it's making it sound a little out of tempo and making it sound like the last one isn't even gonna happen. So that's kind of surprising when it does.
Yes. Good, good. Go further, especially into the last one with that idea.
Okay.
Can we just do that right there at wrecked solitary here?
Solitary.
Good, 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 good. One little thing I will nag about here at the end on rect and here. Tongue position on the e vowel of rect.
Okay.
I like what you're doing dramatically with sound and interpretation.
Okay.
But the vowel isn't specific enough, I think, for you to decide, you know, what you want to do musically with the note. And likewise, solitary, here, figure out what position you need at that part of the voice even more.
Okay.
This time, can you try it again? Think about the e of rect and solitary, here. Think closer to just a real old e vowel,
Okay.
a little bit. And let's see what we think. When I say think about e vowel, I think that the thigh tongue hair. I know this is a lovely Zoom thing to record. That isn't specific. That's what I'm not hearing, is that this knows what to do there, if I may be that picky. Okay?
Okay.
Yes. So much better. So much better. When we ever have to convey, and it doesn't matter in a piece, any sort of piece where we show, I think you're showing a little bit of fatigue by the end of this. Would that be an accurate word to use?
Yeah.
We have to make sure when we are showing fatigue in our artistry, that the fatigue in our technique doesn't mean that everything relaxes.
Yeah.
You know, it can be that you show the fatigue by knowing how to play with your vocal color in the right way. And part of that comes with, oh, maybe I'm going to slow down the air a little bit and play with it. But if all of this starts to feel like you've had 4 cavities filled and you have no retain, then it's too much almost.
Yeah.
I loved, especially hearing you go closer to real E at the end. I was like, number one, I understood the word more. But number two, I felt like, oh, now she has the room she needs to totally play with this last note. You could have diminuendoed, or like you have more license because the position is correct.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Very good, both of you. You're a very good team together. Very, very good.
I love Mike. All right.
Okay, so we're going to do some Q&A, Michael.
Yes.
And I've asked Kate, who was our alternate for today, if she would chair that Q&A, but I'll sit up here with her just so I can get a better look at you.
Excellent.
Hello. Nice to meet you. My name is Kate Smith. I'm a second-year master's student in Shari Gruber's studio. I'm going to kick off our Q&A today. I'd really like to start by first just thanking you sincerely for joining us today. It's wonderful feedback. It's been a pleasure to meet you virtually. All right. So my first question is, from what I can gather online, your career reflects a person who is a versatile artist who has been able to hone and focus various skills, serving in many different ways within the music industry. So what is your favorite role that you played, maybe for lack of better wording, your favorite role that you played in your career, be it a project or a position that you held?
That's a good question, because I have done many different things. You are correct. And it's hard to pick one that's a favorite because I've loved everything I've done. And each opportunity has allowed me to grow in really, really interesting ways. So I can't pick one job that was the most interesting, because I feel like they keep getting more and more interesting and more challenging in different ways. I will say that I have such fondness in my heart for my time at Glimmerglass, which was, I was there 12 years, 12 summers in a row. And that was where I cut my teeth. I was there as a young artist. And then I came back running the Young Artist Program and being head of music staff, and then eventually being the associate artistic director of the company. So that was the place where I learned the most about myself as an artist and saw myself grow over a period of over a decade. So that to me was interesting, because we are in the business where there's so much travel involved that oftentimes having a long-term connection to one company in that way, it doesn't happen for everybody, and I was fortunate in that regard. So it was great to be at a place where I could grow internally as the company itself grew.
That's wonderful. Okay, now this one is a little bit more dense, but as someone with a significant say in shaping the future of our industry, with your work serving groups like Opera America's New Works Forum, as well as artistic direction at America's leading opera house, what do you feel, or excuse me, what do you foresee as the future of the opera industry? I mean, as far as, as culture within the industry, or as opera's role in a social and economic context. If you could make the industry if it was an ideal world and you could determine what the industry looked like, what would that be?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Man, you came after me. No, it's good. It's good. Excellent questions. And, I feel very fortunate to have had the experiences I've had up to this point. I find it really revitalizing, despite we're in such difficult times. I find it revitalizing to see so many people from my peer group now stepping into different roles in companies of all sizes. And I see some important elements of that. We work in a business and in a type of music where we are so steeped in tradition. And it is important that we are learning performance practice and the history. We perform music that encompasses many, many centuries. Yet we are so driven by a need to be relevant and to be ever evolving and to provide the current world and society we live in with something that will in some way make it better. And, for me, I am driven by the idea that we cannot live in a museum art form where everybody comes in and sees the works of the past. We need to be as if the Metropolitan Museum of Art and MoMA are combined at all times, where new is alongside the older repertoire, and all of that becomes appealing to audiences around us. I think it's ever more crucial that our work as artists means we're artist citizens, and that we are very cued into the world around us, and that we are aware that we have a platform to contribute to society and culture in a meaningful and very important way, and that we can't be afraid to use that platform. I would like to see more opportunities for everybody and not just a few in our business. I am a huge proponent for all of the amazing DEI work that is happening in companies now that is long overdue, and wanting every inch of every organization that we work in to look like the beautifully diverse, wonderful world around us with opportunities for all. I think it is crucial. It's been a part of my life's work already, and I'm glad to see that these difficult conversations will lead to positive change that needs to be lasting. And that's, again, that's everywhere. That is diversity, opportunity, accessibility to people from all backgrounds, and us taking our art to all communities not just the people who can afford the expensive tickets. It's education at all levels. All of us, in some capacity, aside from being an artist, regardless if you think I'm just going to go in and be a performer, at all times, we also wear two other hats. We wear the hat of being an educator. We wear the third hat of being a development officer. All of us have the responsibility, aside from making great art, to connect with audiences of all ages in a way that educates them in some capacity to what we do. Because when people feel like they understand what we do more, then it's a little less scary to walk into that concert hall or that opera house. It feels more accessible. We are all development officers because none of us would have jobs without the support of donors and foundations supporting what we do. So in that capacity, all of us have the responsibility to make, people who are interested in our art form want to support it financially, whether through tickets, whether through donations. All of us have that responsibility. In other words, we're not just entitled to have careers and to have people just show up just to see us, without us understanding that there's other work that we have to do and that there are other hats to wear. So in regard to further change into the future, we've already been in a golden age of new American opera. I think most of you are aware of that. I think there are some companies that have been leading the charge better than others for a number of years. It tends to be the smaller companies that are more nimble can do that and take those, or they're able to alter their programming and produce new things in a way. The big companies need to pick up the pace. I think that it's a different time, even than, when I was coming up in the ranks. I'm 42 now. The state of the recital world is, I don't even know what to call it right now, all of you, I'm so sorry to say, because there's so much of the recital and concert path that requires you to be entrepreneurial and you to create your opportunities. There are fewer recital series than there used to be. Luckily, one silver lining we can identify coming out of this crazy pandemic is all of you have become really savvy with digital media. That gives you more platforms to concertize and do recitals and get things out there instead of trying to just think, what is the only way I can create art that requires a brick and mortar place for me to do it live? I know I'm going on with a long answer, but I promise there's more to this. I am keenly interested coming out of the pandemic about the ways that digital will coexist with live in an ongoing way. I think that historically, and I know I'm generalizing, but I think there was a fear of digital because we are a live experience sort of industry. That's what got us all into it, was a live musical artistic experience. Or maybe we saw something on TV, but then there was always that moment all of us can go back to where we saw something live and we remember what the hall or the theater was like. We remember how things sounded. You might remember even what you wore that day. But there was something about that live experience that got you hooked. And I think that we have to be all about live as much as we can. And I can't wait for all of us to be doing it live again. But I think we have to think, now that we have achieved things digitally, how can those worlds coexist and not feel like they're so different? And, I think you all should just keep thinking about that. I think you're going to find more opera companies doing more very digital content, especially maybe of shorter works or more innovative works that they wouldn't have put on their stage, where my hope is that there is a digital element that's here to stay, because it's going to start to reach an audience that we wouldn't have reached otherwise, just because we're doing another production of Le Nozze di Figaro. but they're going to see something that we've put out digitally, and maybe that becomes an entry point for them to think, well, maybe opera and art song isn't so scary. So again, I'm really interested in that we continue to evolve. With that said, I think it's important for all of you who are in your formative years still to realize what it all comes back to at the end of the day. I mean, you were all raised with these. I wasn't. But you know, none of you know a world without computers being part of everyday life. In many ways, I wish you all knew what that was like. And to not be accessible 24 hours a day. And the voicemail and the email, and everybody expects a response 24 hours a day. That's a whole discussion about quality of life we could have another time. But I will say that you have more distractions at your disposal to keep you from the most important thing, and that is the quality of your craft. That is learning your technique. It doesn't matter how savvy you are on social media and how much you engage in all of the new digital things. At the end of the day, if you still haven't fixed the ooh valve that has been nagging you for 4 years, or your support still isn't there, I don't care what you do. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. You know, it's like if you walk by the practice room and everybody's doing this and not tra-la-la, you know, I'm gonna haunt you in your dreams. Haunt you. Because you will never have a career if you're worrying about everything else about the career and not honing you, your artistry, and your craft. Because all the social media glitz isn't going to get you anywhere. So remember, put more time into the practice room, more time into working on the things that are difficult, learning what it really means to practice, which means don't just practice the things that are easy. You need to spend the time practicing the things you cannot do yet, so they become easier and more at your disposal. Because at the end of the day, I have to believe, as someone who loves this art form intrinsically, and it's in every fiber of my being, at the end of the day, good singing, good piano playing matter. They have to. They have to. I want to close my eyes, which I do in every audition, by the way. At one point, I close my eyes in every aria or when I'm judging concerto competitions. It's the same thing. When I close my eyes, can I hear the drama in the musicality and not just the physicality? We need all of it, but the highest thing I think we can achieve is that musicality where it speaks for itself and I don't have to see it. And I believe that while the industry keeps looking to this digital age into the future, et cetera, and so on, we have to cling to that principle. And I'll continue to have my tantrums and stamp my feet about it for years to come, because I think if we ever lose sight of that goal, you know, like the composer in Ariadne, music is a Heilige Kunst. If we lose the Heilige Kunst part of it and the craft, we've lost our way. So, you know, the future of it, I think you still have to remember artistry and technique are your American Express card. Never leave home without it. Like, it has to stay that way. Don't be seduced by all the other things. Otherwise, the business actually won't get better. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Let's take another one of Kate's awesome questions, and then we'll have maybe a minute or two for Q&A if there's anybody on Zoom who wants to ask a question. But I cannot see the chat, nor am I manning the chat, or womaning the chat. I don't know what we say anymore. I'm not commandeering the chat. So if you have a question, you're just going to have to speak up really loud. But Kate will go first.
Sure. I mean, you mentioned a little bit with musical drama, but do you have any advice on auditioning for someone on the other side of the table? We all want to walk into the audition room with warmth and personality and showcasing our musical abilities. But is there anything in particular that you see in auditioning singers that sets them apart and makes you interested in working with them?
Yes, absolutely. Couple points to this. We are in the business of hiring interesting artists who have a musical and artistic opinion. So you need to come in and present yourself. The audition will never go your way if you completely play the game of, I think this is what they want to hear from me. Because then it will never go well, because you're trying to play to us instead of showing us who you are. With that said, yes, do you need to show us a variety on your audition package, or especially you all are in an artist program mode, so you have all these requirements that you have to do A, B, C, D. Yeah, you will have to do that when you're starting out, but every selection you pick still needs to be you. You know, if you're a lyric soprano and you're like, oh God, the only thing I can pick that might show that my voice moves is the damn Jewel song and I hate it. You know, some of you laugh because you know I'm right. Find something else. Go look at Rosalinda. Like go find something else and see what you think. But the moment you have anything on your list that you have on there begrudgingly, or you wake up and you're like, God, that's just, I mean, it's there because they need something that does this, then it's not the right thing to be on your list. Okay. So the moment that you get out of trying to guess about what we want, know that what we want is for you to be true to you. Then you can own the room and have the audition go your way. Does that make sense? Like, that is the most important thing, number one. Number two, show us your personality. Some people come in and they don't show us their true personality, but they think they do. They actually come in with this alter ego, which is their audition personality, which I don't know if anybody, I mean, I'm going to date myself, but like if anybody's seen the movie Waiting for Guffman, which is this amazingly hysterical Christopher Guest movie, but there's this audition scene at the beginning where right before the couple goes into audition, they do this, and then they go in. So many of you walk in and do something like that where you're like, you know, good afternoon, and it's like, you know, just come in and be yourself. Show us your personality. Don't feel that we need to see you on like your A game day to the nth degree. If we engage you in conversation, just be ready for that. I tend to try to create a very warm audition space and talk to people and just, you know, I want you to feel comfortable because I want you to believe that the room is yours. I'm lucky and happy to be in it. But I get that you're also going to be nervous to sing for me. So I try to make it calm. But anytime I talk to people, 9 times out of 10, they're almost like they've routined how the audition needs to go. I'm going to introduce the aria a certain way. If they ask me for the next thing, I'll say sure or thank you. But the moment I deviate from the script you have in your head, sometimes it's like discombobulating. And I'll just say, oh, did you have a nice trip in today? And they're like, that wasn't scripted. Yes. Just be ready to be conversant, okay? And the only other thing I will say is, please just make sure, and I know, thank God you have Jocelyn Dueck there, for both singers and pianists, make sure all the music is so well organized in your book that there's never a question as to like, if we ask for something that's not there or the page is missing or whatever, because then it just gets very uncomfortable. Remember that in the audition room, there are more variables that you can control than those that you cannot control. If you have not taken care of every variable that you can control, that tends to be the one thing that will go wrong. Yes. It's like inevitable. You can control how prepared you are. You can control if your materials are updated. You can control, you know, if whatever clothes you're wearing that day fit you or don't restrict your movement. You know, you can control so many things. So take that as a place of power. Because so often you feel like, because you're auditioning for a job, you feel like everything is out of your control. The more that you realize that there are more things within your locus of control than you might realize, you actually start to feel more empowered and you chill out a little bit more about the experience.
All right, we've got questions from Faith and Dusan. Those were awesome. Stay right here. Faith, do you want to ask Mr. Heaston yourself, or should I ask?
I'd be happy to, whatever you prefer.
Go ahead.
Kate mentioned that you've had quite the varied career, but I was curious, what inspired you to work at the university / young artist level before you headed back to the Met?
So the young artist level is where I really came up the ranks. So I was a young artist pianist at Glimmerglass in 2006. So I was just turning like 26, 27. And then I came back the next year and they asked me 2 weeks before the season started, there was a staffing change. In the fastest promotion in history, they asked me, I was coming back to be a regular member of music staff. They asked would I also be co-director of the Young Artist Program the year after I did it, and I was like 27 years old. So suddenly I was helping run one of the biggest young artist programs in the country at a very young age. That led me to running the K-Fritz program at Washington National Opera. I ran the Lindemann program. I helped run HGO Studio for a couple years. So I've been on this scenic tour running America's young artist programs. It's like I should like make a Rick Steves tour guidebook for it at this point. There has always been an educator bone in me. My father was an accounting professor and an associate dean of the College of Business at Drake University in Des Moines, where I grew up. His father was an accounting professor at Creighton University. I've had other teachers in my family. There is this teaching gene that seems to make its way through the Heaston clan. So for me, when I was working with young artist programs, it felt very natural, like I was at home. Like it just hit a part of me that worked very, very well. When I went to, I didn't think I would go into a university setting so soon. That was a combination of a couple things. That I thought I would at the end of my career. I thought I would be one of those like people who would have my career working in the houses, and then I would get, irritable about it one day and then be like, I'm just going to go out and play with the kids and teach them how to do it. And but it was a combination of a couple things. I had always thought that I only thought that there were a few university or conservatories that I would actually go to, because I didn't know how many people would actually get me and what I do, because I functioned at such a professional young artist program all the time, and there are many schools that aren't necessarily receptive to that. But when Rice called, Rice was always on my list of, oh, that's a place I could go in, because it's basically run like a professional young artist program. Plus they have their required coursework, but it really is run like an opera program. So it was much like me running the Lindemann program, except they had to fulfill their music history requirements and all of that. So it fit. I wasn't looking to leave the Met at the time. I also had a personal life thing that led me down to Houston, and with my husband passed away from cancer a couple of years ago, and so we left New York so that I could be a caregiver, and going to Houston allowed me to do that. But I say that to all of you because I was on this path up, and I went to the Met, and when we realized my husband had stage 4 cancer, and he probably only had anywhere from 5 to 10 years to go. You make difficult decisions. I'd landed back at the Met, in a plum job. And when you'll reach places in your life and your career where you have to take stock and you have to say at a certain point, I need to do this on my own terms. And I've got to get off the hamster wheel, because at the end of the day, no one cares that you performed a recital in Carnegie Hall or sang at the Paris Opera. What matters at the end of the day is your life and your family and your friends. That's most important. So, you know, in my particular instance, I decided to go to Houston, do dual roles at Rice and Houston Grand Opera because I could support us and he wouldn't have to work anymore. And we could spend the years he had left enjoying our time together. We moved there and he passed away 5 months later because things went horribly wrong. And so, you know, you can never tell. And I tell people have said to me, you know, oh, would you, knowing what you know now, so no, knowing what I knew at the time, I would make the same decision every single time. Because anytime you make a decision that you know is the best thing for your life, that is the right decision. And it's hard to remember that in this business. And then you're able to live a life where you don't have the regrets for things. You will always have the regrets if you make the career decision that forces you to take a major compromise with regard to your personal and family life. So I know I got off topic talking about what you wanted to talk about, but this is an important life lesson because we don't think about quality of life enough in this business. And, you know, I wouldn't wish what I went through on anybody else. But if I can talk about it openly, which I very much do, I hope that we can continue to change the culture in this business about what we think about quality of life and having a career. It's just now becoming more okay for people to have babies and have this career. And the fact that it has taken up until the last decade for that to be okay is reprehensible. But we've now arrived there where, yes, you can. So, you know, digressing, I was very happy to be at Rice. It's the place I thought I might have ended up, not at age, whatever I was at the time, 39 in doing it. I thought that might be a place I would go at like 55 or 60. And when the Met came calling with this incredible job that hasn't been available in 37 years, that's how long my predecessor did that job. I said to myself, well, I've never been afraid of risk before. I've always run with the opportunity. This is one time I would kick myself, even though I feel like I already had my retirement job at age 40, which is a weird headspace to be in. I was like, I would kick myself if I didn't go for this. And I knew it was taking me away from the young artist world, which I loved so much in working with people, young people. But I know I can always go back to it at some point.
That's beautiful.
Thank you for answering that so transparently. That was really meaningful. Thank you.
Sure.
So we have a hard stop in 2.5 minutes. So Dusan, since you sang, I'm sorry, I'm going to skip over your question and go to Alana. And in 30 seconds, Alana has a question about recital and concert work in the US. And then I want to give some time to say thank yous as well.
I'll try to go fast. Hi, I'm Alana. As someone who is very passionate about, and I'm sure the faculty can attest, very passionate about Lieder, looking at the concert scene in the US and how few, you know, running recital halls exist, I was wondering if you had any advice, especially for those of us that are technically challenged but working to do better, about how to develop a recital or concert career in the States, or whether it's better to just go to Europe.
You will have more success in Europe at this point, honestly, but you can still do things here. It's very difficult to make a full-time living just being a concert and recital singer here in the US. You basically have to try to tandem it with some sort of stage performance. But those days, I'm sad to say, those days they've been gone for decades now at this point, as I count the number of years as to when those wonderful opportunities were there. So, you know, I think, again, it's this entrepreneurial spirit with digital. It's something where I'd say, yeah, at this point, you've got to figure out how to get up to speed so you can start to get some clips out. It's all about being very, very, again, entrepreneurial is the word I keep using. You have to create these opportunities so that maybe then you can get onto one of the several big recital series that are left. It's partnering with local orchestras to sing oratorio so that they know you exist and you'd be happy to come in and sing the Messiah solos. It's that sort of thing. You know, there are some singers who are doing it. You know, you look like Kelly O'Connor. I don't know if you know her. Wonderful mezzo soprano. She's singing all the Mahler symphony. Like, she's doing concert work all the time. And Jennifer Johnson Cano is doing some opera and a lot of concert. And Sasha Cook has this really interesting mix. A lot of mezzos who do it. But it's you have to be open, I think, to a mix. And then at a certain point, you can almost start to specialize. So many concert careers, especially if you're going to do symphonies, oratorio, a lot of that really builds out of conductors really liking you and wanting you to do the next thing with them. So never underestimate how important conductors can be along the way. But in order to, like, a full-time concert career in the US, it's hard. I'll be honest, it is hard.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Michael. I'm going to ask everyone to come up to take their final bow. And also, Rich, can you come, please? And this is Rich Kaywood. He made all the tech happen today and needs to be acknowledged.
Rich, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Michael.
And the rest of our performers. And Michael, thank you so much for this incredible glimpse into what you're doing. It's, I think, a crucial moment right now in our lives. And it's a watershed. And so having your guidance and your intuition and your experience right up here, close in front of us, is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. And all of you, just remember, we're onward and upward. It's going to get better. There are brighter days ahead. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. I promise it's not an oncoming train. We have so much good music. We have so much good music to make. Okay? So just do the work. We're going to get there. Okay?
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Great.